An important aspect of business is, of course, bringing a gift for your host, for your client, for your supplier. But you have to be very careful with your gifts. For example, if you're traveling to meet somebody from Indonesia, although it sounds like Asia, you should be very careful not to give them a bottle of your best whiskey, because Indonesia is in fact the world's biggest Muslim country. Muslims can also be found all over Africa, so before you decide to give them a bottle of your best wine, make sure you know which religion they are. In India, the cow is sacred. Probably some of you have visited and know this. So a leather wallet or a leather bag, anything from leather, will not be accepted by your Indian host. Flowers are also very problematical as gifts, particularly if you're giving them to a woman, as red roses will probably give her the wrong message. I'd like to tell you a little story that I had with flowers when I was working in Russia. One of my students was studying her PhD at Moscow University. And every so often I would ask her how she was getting along. And one day she said, "They have accepted my PhD. I'm now Dr. Irina." And I was very happy for her. So before the next lesson, I went out to buy a flower. And looking at this flower by itself, I thought it looked a bit lonely. So I bought a second flower. And then in the lesson, I gave them to her. She half laughed and she half cried, and that's when I discovered that in Russia, 2 flowers or 4 flowers or 6 flowers are what you lay on a grave at a funeral in a cemetery. So knowing which flowers to buy and knowing how many is also part of international business culture. To summarize then, we've discussed language, we've discussed body language, we've discussed direct questions and indirect language and gifts. Do your homework before you try to make business contact with your client or your supplier. They do things that we don't always understand, but we have to show that we are trying to build confidence and trust with them. So please do your homework first. That's all I wanted to say about international business culture. I'd like to finish by giving you some tips about video telephone conferences.